The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
We've heard a lot from Marjorie Taylor Greene about gender, January 6th, or the vaccine. And now she's got a podcast on which she connects the dots. So we'll know what's really true and all her deepest thoughts about evil liberal plots to make us fry a fake cheeseburger by the old peach tree. Or she says Bill Gates will start sapping me. If we don't follow orders, his gazpacho police will come in and snoop, examine our poop till we do what they wish, and fry a fake cheeseburger from that peach tree dish. We laughed out loud when we saw her tweets about Jewish space lasers and martial law. She's not just dumb, she's dangerous. Of course we can't forget. But it's hard to resist mocking her craziest comments yet. And there's worse to come, I bet. Fry a fake cheeseburger by the old peach tree. Or she says Bill Gates will start zapping me. If we don't follow orders, his gazpacho police will come in and snoop, examine our poop till we do what they wish, and fry a fake cheeseburger from that peach tree dish.
Incoherent and sure can't spell, harasses colleagues and students as well. A transphobic provocateur, can't believe the thing you hear from her.
Now the whole darn internet is jeering at her latest gibberish, with 1,000 memes and jokes about that peach tree dish.
Incoherent and sure can't spell, harasses colleagues and students as well. A transphobic provocateur, can't believe a thing you hear from her. Incoherent and sure can't spell, harasses colleagues and students as well. A transphobic provocateur, can't believe a thing you hear from her. Incoherent.
Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a good day. Pretty warm here for Saturday here in Maine. Temperatures up in the 80s, in some spots in the 90s, the low 90s. And the humidity is up, so it's been kind of hot outside, but it's cooling down because it's about 6:30, so it's cooling down. But yeah, summer's here, and we're going to get some hot days soon. So yesterday when I did my video, when I did my video about what happened with the Supreme Court and all that, there was a lot of other things that was decided on yesterday that I didn't mention because I was really more focused on the abortion issue here. What the hell? So the other things that that should be mentioned, and they're just as important, I think, in regard to the abortion position, is Clarence Thomas, wants, said in a side note to the decision that's come up, that he wanted to go after other things, other court decisions that were made over the years to undo. And one of the things that he wanted to do was he wanted to go after the case involving Griswold over contraception. He wants to challenge that. Okay, and that too is another right for women to have, and so I just it just seems like he's on this tirade here against women here in a lot of cases. It makes me wonder what the hell's been going on. Maybe because his wife has been under the gun, as it were, for her role in the January 6th thing, that they've been having some fights and everything, and that just fueled his rage about women or something. I don't know. Then he says he wants to go after people. There was a case with Lawrence, I guess, versus the Supreme Court decision over how people can have sex. There's like certain positions that he wants to ban that people can't use during sex, and it's like, well, how are you going to enforce such a thing like that? You're going to put cameras in people's bedrooms so that way you can monitor how they're screwing, how they're getting off. Okay, you can make a law about all kinds of things in life, but if you can't actually provide proof that you did these things and nobody says anything, what point's the law? What point is there in having a law about it? So yeah, he wants to overturn that, so that way they can have the government can have charge over what's going on in your bedroom. Okay, another attack on privacy. Okay, he wants to get rid of gay marriage, and that's going after equal protection. Okay, that's always been something Republicans always despise, but never would bring up too much. During when they're trying to get things their way done, they use it as a campaign tool when they're fighting with each other, the Republicans. But for all the hot air that they've spewed over the decades about gay marriage, they've never been able to do anything about it, and I think largely because the gay community simply is too well organized, and active in protecting their rights, and so it makes it extremely difficult for Republicans to actually do anything about it. So even though he might want to challenge that ruling there, what was it, Auburson, I guess, I can't remember pronounce the name, but he wants to challenge the ruling on that for gay marriage, but half the country basically lost their privacy rights, and on top of that, I mean, they had the balls, the court had the balls to go after New York City, or New York State rather, and tell them that they don't have a right to decide who gets to carry a fucking concealed permit, a concealed gun, and who gets a permit to do that. They don't want them to have the right to do that, and I'm like, why? They've never had to go after the states to get what they want. It's always been going after the federal government to protect the Second Amendment, right? To them, that's where they go when they want to bitch about rights. So now they're going after the state, and it's not even like a state that they really give a shit about, because I guess it's considered more of a liberal bastion than, but they want to go after New York. And they've had this law in New York for 100 years. I guess it was enacted in 1913, and people were they had to have a permit to have a gun, concealed. And now they're saying, well, we don't want people to decide who gets one and who doesn't. So in other words, this is a step in just letting the city or the state of New York run amok with people carrying guns, and not having permits to have them. Obviously, that's a step in a direction to make it harder for people to get background checks or whatever, you know, because I imagine if you go get a permit for, you know, to carry a sidearm on you, you have to go through you know, a screening process to make sure you don't have a criminal record and all that stuff. Well, if you say you no longer need that permit, and the state doesn't have a right to make you get one, then that takes away any power, you know, a background check does. So in other words, Republicans never liked the idea of background checks anyway, even though they've been telling us that, you know, they all support background checks. But here's an opportunity where instead of strengthening the ability to do it, they're actually cutting the legs out from under it in just this one state. Why they picked New York, I don't know. Maybe it's because they hate the state. You know, I don't know. You know, and all this excuse me, you know, when you talk about how with these things that they're talking about, they want to enact or challenge, you know, like Clarence wants to challenge, you know, like gay marriage, anti-abortion, all that stuff. I mean, isn't that kind of like an attack on certain religions and stuff like that as well? Because, you know, the Jewish community think that the mother's life is more important in a case like abortion and stuff like that. And now, if they live in the United States, they probably won't be allowed in some states to be able to practice that belief, because their state views that as a criminal action that they can then charge you and punish you for. Okay, so to me, that's like, you know, the Republicans' way of turning America into a one religion country. You know, just like in other parts of the world that we consider third world, you know, or just violent, they only have one religion allowed there, and that's it. But even with the one religion, guess what? They still fight with each other, because people, even in the one religion, all have different variations on how they interpret their religion. So, you know, it's an issue that's never ever going to be solved. But the fact is that Republicans, going by what Clarence Thomas wants to do, they want to turn America into a dominionist sort of society where we're all living under this one religion, and everybody else who believes in something different, well, you know, too bad. Either convert to Catholicism or get the hell out of America. You know, and I mean, this is a way for them, I guess, basically to try to get rid of the people they don't like in America. And, you know, I don't know what that says about America in general, that we have people that are in power now that's able to do that, because I figured that people who believe these sorts of things would get vetted out, and people would understand what they are, and they'd never get to see the inside of a political office. But not only are they in political office, but they've taken some high seats, and they even got the presidency a few times. And now, you know, we're living under this new America here that we have. And the new America is a lot like the old America, where we had a lot of problems in this country that we thought weren't problems, but had to be thrown at us in order to make us understand that they were, like slavery. People back in those days of slavery never thought two things that there was nothing wrong with that. They didn't look at black people as humans, for Christ's sake. They thought they were just animals that came from Africa. You know, that's how they were treated, and they weren't allowed to have any schooling or anything like that, because they didn't want these people to be educated. So they'd always be dependent on the slave owner, you know. And, you know, it sounds like we still have a lot of people in America, okay? They may not be the majority, but as a minority group, they're pulling a lot of fat around in the areas of our country that have lots of money. And so, you know, we got groups in the Republican Party, you know, Proud Boys, you know, the QAnon, white supremacist groups, you know, the American Nazi Party. These people inhabit the extreme arm of the right wing, and nobody should be proud to have people like that in their party. Okay, I don't understand how Republicans can feel or go to sleep at night knowing that inside their party they've got these friggin' rebel rousers sitting, waiting, for the opportunity to strike. And knowing that their party can spin completely out of control like it has now, they never did anything to try to rid elements of that out of their party. Instead they embraced it. Why? Because they had power. They had the ability to get money, donations, and stuff like that from lunatics, like this fellow here.
You have two choices. Your house in heaven or an eternity in hell.
Like I said, groups that belong to stuff like that, okay, they they would be energized by these loudmouths, and they would turn political politicians upside down in order to get money from their base, okay. And so the Republican Party owes a lot of its power to these right-wing fruitcakes, because without them, I don't think they would have much of a base at all, or they have the money that they get. And now it's become way more apparent, more than ever now, that that's who's controlling the party. Because as you could see, from the Lincoln Project, you got people in the Republican Party that left the party because they see what's happened to it, and they don't want to be part of it. Okay, they don't want to be labeled as, a part of the issue that brought the country down. They're just getting the hell out of that fucking mess right now. And they're still leaving, okay? But the more that leave the party, the more radicalized it becomes, because when you take the common sense out of whatever is left in the Republican Party, all you're left now is a borderline terrorist, well, maybe not borderline, maybe it is a terrorist group now because of what happened January 6th. But definitely you end up with a party that's more comprised of elements like that, okay? And when you have a clear and present danger to our stability as a nation, sitting in our own seats of power in the government, we shouldn't tap dance around the issue of removing these people from power. We need to bulldoze these people out of office as quickly as we can, because believe me, people like Clarence Thomas, Mitch McConnell, elements like that, they don't belong there anymore, okay? Their day is over. They've done all the damage they can do, and they're still not happy. And they nothing would make them happier than to see this country on its ass. And I'll give you some proof of that here in a minute, when I'm after the commercial break. But just to say that Republicans have our best interests in heart would be living with blinders on, okay? They don't have our best interests at heart. They don't even have their own best interests in heart, because they constantly vote all the time against themselves, like they did here in Maine recently, where we could have had cheaper electricity by supplementing our grid with green energy, solar power. And thanks to these Republican lunatics out there who totally twisted the issue into, oh, they're going to come and tear down your forest in order to put up the new lines, totally ignoring the fact that the lines were already there and had been for decades, okay? They were the normal electric lines that come down through the woods. All they had to do was string right along that line. They didn't have to tear down nothing in order to install that, okay? But they made people think that they were out there with chainsaws and bulldozers knocking over trees. And of course, when you start talking about destroying, the woods, people get their backs up and they don't want to listen. And that's what happened. So they believed the lie. They voted against themselves. And what do you know? As soon as the year started, the electricity rates went through the fucking roof. They went through the roof. Now, let me ask you something. Don't you think that's a little bit coincidental? They stopped this thing and all of a sudden now we're paying more per kilowatt hour? Okay, obviously they had a plan on doing that, and having lower prices was not in the mix. They didn't want that at all. They wanted people to pay more, so they spent a lot of money putting a lot of advertisements all over the TV, convincing people that to vote for the green energy addition to our electricity was a bad thing, because your whole state's going to look like this, and that was a fucking lie. And people in Maine are not too bright, okay? They never were. it's just simple-minded people who have, you know, great deal of opinions, okay, but they don't know a whole lot, and they don't bother to, you know, read between the lines or to even investigate for the truth, okay? They don't do that, not around here. So it's not a wonder that we keep voting for people like Susan Collins over and over and over again, because, hey, it's the name you know that always wins. So, you know, Republicans, you know, like places like that where they can get the upper hand very easily, okay, with very little opposition. And it plays right into what they're trying to do here by turning our country inside out, making it, you know, a complete opposite of what it was. And like I keep saying, at the end of this century, America is going to have a different face. It's going to be a lot of things that we have now won't be there. Okay, we're already losing these things now. Just 2 days ago, women had a right to abortion, not anymore now. So we're going to see a lot of things like that happen swiftly, and over the next 50 or 60 years. And by the time 50 years goes by, it's already going to start feeling oppressed. We're all going to start feeling oppressed more than usual, and the cops are going to be, you know, a lot more active in going after people, and privacy is going to be a rare thing, a commodity that, you know, people are going to wish they had and wish they didn't lose. And, you know, it's I know it sounds kind of crazy to even say this, you know, but, you know, it's going to force people to rethink their citizenship, and it's going to force people to wonder if there's even any hope left at all to reverse course on this. And unfortunately, because it took so long in my lifetime to get here, I would say that it's going to take twice as long to go back. Okay, it's going to take twice as long, and because it's always harder to undo a problem than it is to create one. So what happened yesterday with the Supreme Court is going to take a whole lot longer to undo than it did for them to just get on the bench and say what they said, okay? Because the way our system is set up, it's very hard to make change. And you know how hard it's been just to do the simplest fucking thing under the Biden administration to get change, because there ain't enough Democrats in the seat, and we got 2 Democrats that are really Republicans, and they don't side with us. So the Republicans really have control over the Senate. Okay, despite how many D's and R's there are in there, how these people feel politically is all different. It's all relative. So the Republicans really still have the majority in the Senate. So, you know, I know it's a lot of downing talk and all that, but how, you know, do you want me to sugarcoat this so you can sleep easy at night? I mean, do you really want people to lie to you about what's going on? Honestly. Okay. You know, like somebody had told me last night, you know, a lot of this is our fault, because how many of us sat out through elections and never bothered to get up and vote? We don't vote in the local elections, which is very important, because that ends up that local elections decide for us who we get to pick in the bigger elections as they move up the ladder, in the political ladder. If we don't vote in the local elections, we're always going to get shit to pick from, you know, the worst of the best of 2 evils, as it were, to select from. So you have to be active in the local elections as much as the big ones. But too many of us sit at home on the local elections and just ignore it. And then when we go out to vote in the big ones, we're like, oh, all we get is this. It's like, well, they wouldn't be there if you had voted, you know, a year earlier and voted somebody else. That person wouldn't be there now, you know. It's like playing a game. If you come into the game halfway when it's over, you know, yeah, you're going to be at a serious disadvantage. You're not going to like it. So, yeah, I mean, the Democrats have been very loose about their, you know, patriotic duty to participate in the election system, where the Republicans, being fanatical as they are, look at the election system as a must that they have to constantly be there because they are driven there by religious motivation. Okay, the religions that they go to make it important on them to participate in these religions, and I witnessed that myself in my own church when I was 17 years old. The priest sitting there telling us we need to vote for George Bush, you know. And, you know, my father called up the rectory there that day and told them, you know, don't be going in there and telling people how to vote. That ain't your fucking place. Okay, and said, you know, you keep that up and we're going to, the government's going to start taxing the churches. And the priest was all apologetic. I mean, my father didn't hide who he was because he used to talk to the priests all the time over there because he'd fix their televisions and radios and stuff when they'd break down. My father that's what he did for a job. So he'd been over there many times and, you know, he knew him. So he knew the priest. So when he called him up and chewed him out, you know, okay, it couldn't have been an easy thing to do, but he did it because he realized that, you know, what the priest was doing was not right. And my father wasn't the only one in the church that got mad about that. So people had wrote to them about it, and wrote to the bishop about it. And but, you know, they're still doing it. They're still doing it. And it's maybe, you know, in the different Christian religions, they still do this shit. Okay? So where you're supposed to have church and state separate, they combine the two to get people motivated to go vote and vote their way. Okay, that's why the Republicans are fanatical about elections, because they link that to their religion. Okay, and that's something Democrats don't have. They're not fanatical about voting. You know, instead we feel defeated all the time because when we vote, we don't get our way because we were left with the choices that the Republicans put in there, and we don't have anybody that we can trust or rely on to do our thing. So that's how it all shakes down. Let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
More people and more crime is committed and more people are killed with hammers every year than guns. Look at the facts.
I will look that up. I don't think that's true, actually.
That is true.
In the United States, though?
Yes, sir. That is true. Look it up. It's on. You can Google it. It's true. It's actually true.
So, the number of murder victims and the weapons used. Okay, number 1, handguns, 8,029. Number 2, firearms, type not stated, 4,863. Number 3, knives or cutting instruments, personal weapons, fists, feet. Then rifles at 455. Then blunt objects, clubs, hammers, 393. The 300, the hammers, that stat is just wrong.
Back to your question, Second Amendment is still my right and it's still important to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's President Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. I didn't disappoint you by not showing up. Is there a substitute for lead? You people are better at this than me. This is not about virtue cycling and signing. Sure, I have my NRA card. I say, okay, good. What else is new? I was proud to receive the earliest endorsement in the entire history of the NRA. He has his Trump card. Thank you very much. Charlton Heston. Russia and China. Goggles, new things. We gave them the best border ever, and they turned it into the worst border nightmare of all time, and they don't like dogs. You know that. They don't like dogs. They don't like them at all. There's no win here for anybody. Nothing was given up by Trump. We really like Trump. An out of control lunatic. He will be eternally damned to burn in the fires of hell. Ah, this is a sad day.
If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body. Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Want to build a super day? Then start with the one great taste that makes a super bowl of cereal. Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Just think of crispy golden flakes.
Delicious, crunchy flakes of corn.
So pure and simple, just can't wait.
Low in sugar, loaded with vitamins and iron.
So good for you, don't hesitate.
For a super bowl of our most nutritious corn flakes ever.
What a super bowl. Have yourself a super bowl. Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Super taste, super good. Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back. You know, I know when I do these videos, you might hear like this beeping in the background that happens during the video, okay? What that is, it's not me putting sound effects in the thing. I have a portable washing machine. I don't know if you know what they look like. They're small, and they take small loads of wash, you know, and stuff like that. When it's beeping like that, it means the machine's off balance, okay? And I got to go in there and move the laundry around so it's more balanced. And the machine's very finicky about the clothes being in there in a certain balance, all right? So when that thing is beeping, it means the machine has stopped and it's signaling me to go in there and fix the load in the damn machine. Okay, and that happens all the time. It's a frustrating machine, okay? But it's saving me money from having to take a lot of stuff to the laundromat and using their machines there. Plus the laundromat for me is all the way in Orono next to the old Burger King that's not there anymore, down where the theater is in Orono. So I go over there. It's the closest one to my location anyway. And I know the owners down there pretty well, so I go over there. When I have big blankets to wash, that's where I take it, because their machines are bigger to handle it. I can't shove a big blanket at that machine. It would tear itself apart trying to spin that dry, you know. So that's what the beeping is in the background anyway. I mean, it's a pretty good machine. I've had it about 7 years now. I ordered it from Finger Hut, paid about $390 for it. And it was under a 2-year warranty, so the warranties run out. And I've only had to replace the belt on it once in that 7 years. So it's been a good machine, you know. So if anyone's ever looking for one, if you live in an apartment or something like that, it's a very easy thing to hook up to your sink. You don't have to tear it apart. You just plug right in to your existing faucet. All you got to do is put a little adapter on the faucet, and you just plug the hose into that, and that's all it needs. And it has wheels on the bottom, so you can roll around on the floor, and you can lock the wheels so that way the thing doesn't move. It's a good machine, you know, and I've had nothing but good luck with it. So if you ever looking for one, go to Finger Hut. You might pay a little bit more at Finger Hut online for one of those things, but I can't find a place around here that sells those machines. It's all the big ones, okay? To get a portable one, it's a really, really hard thing to find. So I had no choice but to go through Finger Hut. They were the only people that I could find, other than, you know, Amazon, but they didn't have anyone as cheap as that. So, but anyway, I digress here. But I mentioned in the previous segment there that I was going to tell you something about Clarence Thomas here, and you know, and why the Republicans are just, you know, eager to get revenge, as it were, on Democrats for things that they, you know, related to Trump, you know, like the hearings and stuff like that, which I think has a lot to do with why the Supreme Court did what it did yesterday. And this article here comes from The Insider, written by Catherine Tanglakis Lippert, entitled "Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas Told His Law Clerks in the 1990s That He Wanted to Serve for 43 years to Make Liberals' Lives Miserable." Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas told his law clerks he intended to serve on the highest court of the land to make the lives of liberals miserable, according to a '93 report from the New York Times. Thomas, who was confirmed to the Supreme Court in '91 amid contentious confirmation hearings, resented the media coverage surrounding his appointment. Central to the hearings were accusations and testimony about alleged sexual harassment of one of his subordinates, Anita Hill, who accused the justice of repeated unwanted sexual advances and inappropriate conduct in the workplace. Now, I remember that pretty well because I remember listening to Rush Limbaugh attacking Anita Hill on that whole subject for that whole time that was going on, okay? Never heard a guy openly on the radio sit there and say all this racist shit about somebody because, you know, Clarence was a Republican and they wanted him in there, you know. He was ultimately confirmed in a 52-48 vote. In a conversation with his law clerks 2 years following his confirmation, the New York Times reported Thomas expressed his desire to serve on the court until the year 2034. Quote, "The liberals made my life miserable for 43 years, unquote. A former clerk remembered Thomas, who was 43 years old when confirmed, saying, according to the New York Times, quote, "And I'm going to make their lives miserable for 43 years, unquote. Thomas, considered the most conservative justice on the court, joined the majority opinion on Friday, which overturned federal abortion protections established in Roe v. Wade. In a concurring opinion, Thomas indicated he also believed the Supreme Court should reconsider decisions from the cases Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell, or what I would say, which established the federal right to use birth control and legalize same-sex activity and gay marriage, respectively." So there you go, right there. This, words out of his own mouth, saying that, you know, what he did yesterday was basically just out of spite, okay? And being the mouth that he was able to translate that, or, you know, spin it into sounding like some kind of a legal excusability thing, you know, just to make it sound like, oh, we did this because it's, you know, the Constitution demanded it, okay? When it was really his own goddamn spitefulness that drove him to it. And I'm sure that all this shit that was going on, that's been going on with the hearing, and his wife being involved in that, had a lot to do with what he was doing yesterday, okay, or what was being done, okay? This was his way of getting back at the Democrats for attacking his wife, okay, and trying to force him to recuse himself from the situation, or anything approaching the Supreme Court related to the January 6th thing. I'm sure he didn't like that, okay? And now we find out that, you know, hey, look, back in '93, this motherfucker here was sitting here talking about trying to make liberals' lives miserable for half a century, okay? Well, he's been doing just that. I mean, can anybody think of a time when this man's decisions didn't cause controversy in this country? Okay, so now we know his reasoning behind why he does what he does. Okay, the guy's a piece of shit. Anita Hill warned us about that, but we didn't listen well enough. And, you know, he got his ass in power, and he's been there ever since. And this is one of the reasons why people feel like we have to have term limits for Supreme Court justices, that when we're stuck with a bad apple, we don't have to feel like we got to deal with this bad apple for a long, long time. We should be able to vote these assholes out when their time is up, okay? And to me, that seems like, you know, an expansion of the democracy that we tried to create in this country when we put into law electing governors every so often and presidents every so often, and you know what I'm saying? But the Supreme Court, we don't do that. They're just picked, they're selected, and they stay there till they're dead. Okay, that shouldn't be going on. Okay, nobody has a right in this country. We don't put kings in power here in America, okay? We got rid of that shit when we came over here. Nobody has a lifelong position in anything in the government, okay? You're there for your time and then get out. And we need to do the same thing when it comes to the Supreme Court, okay? We've had a lot of bad justices in there over the years, okay, and we can't get rid of them. Even if they do something bad, we can't get rid of them, it seems. They're there forever. And we shouldn't have to wait till one of these people dies in order to get the chance to correct the problem. when it presents itself. Now you have an admitted justice right here that just said, you know, a long time ago, and we didn't take any action on that back then when we should have, that this guy's got an ulterior motive to what he's going to be doing as a justice, and he wants to abuse the power of his office. Okay, that says a lot about this guy. Okay, first sexually harassing women, and now it's using the power of his office to, you know, destroy other people's lives. Doesn't that sound like Donald Trump? You know, we got rid of him, and thank God he had 4 years and we could elect him out. Okay, but we can't do that with this guy, with Thomas. We can't do that with him because he's in there for life. Okay, and the older he gets, the worse he's going to get. You know, people are that way. When they get older, they get bitchier and uglier, you know, and stuff, and, you know, they walk around unhappy. Well, can you imagine now what this guy's going to be like from here on out? You know, he says he wants to go after all these different things now, and you know he's going to do it, okay? And because he's a Republican and he's got the other Republicans, there's 6 Republicans and only 3 Democrats. Now that he's got that behind him, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage in this country before he dies. I mean, why should we be forced to live with that? Smokey, get down. Hey. Why should we be forced to have to live through that? Why can't we have the choice to remove this guy before he does some serious damage? I just feel like, you know, it's, you know, we don't, as an American, we're not practicing full democracy here, and we never did because we've left the system the way it is for what, 300 years? So I just feel like there's still more democracy that we need to install in our government that we don't have right now, okay? So that's why people need to get out and get more active when elections come and stuff like that, is because, you know, when the time comes when we need this ability to do something, it's there for us, and we have the option to control more of the system, because we're supposed to be the government, right? We the people, we're the government. We can't be the government if we can't get rid of people we don't like for doing bad things. You know what I'm saying? That's tying our hands so we can't do the right thing. Okay, because that's what creates animosity in society. That's what creates revolutions, when people feel trapped by the government they hate and they can't do anything to change it. When people feel like that, that's when things go to violence. That's when governments get overthrown. You know, and we were trying to do that here. I mean, they say, you know, your democracy is yours for as long as you can keep it. Well, we can't keep it if they take the power away from us to change it when it's doing wrong. Okay? So, yes, the justices have to have term limits. And with Republicans controlling the floor, as it were, in the Senate, you know, it's going to be very hard right now to even get them to sidle along with that, okay? But I think that's something that really we should enact in some way. You know, if Biden can do something to present that to Congress, you know, and get this thing overseen, to put to a vote, to see if it'll pass and get to his desk. Okay? We can't just let this go on, because with people that are so miserable like Clarence Thomas, how many more are going to show up with the same attitude for the next 60 years or something like that and do these kinds of things? Okay? Well, you know, is our country going to be strong enough to withstand more of the same? You know, I don't think it will. So, but you know, like I said, that's the kind of evidence that shows that there's a dark side to why all this happened yesterday, and it's not the legalese Constitution explanation that they did it by. It's because they are still pissed at this hearing, and I think it's because they're so mad that so many Republicans, fellow party members, are under the gun. I mean, we know what Fox News has been doing. They've been shitting all over this hearing, not airing it for the most part, and spinning it to their viewers, okay? So we know they're mad about the hearing. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't even be spinning the truth to make it into something that their people will believe, okay? So we know they're mad. We know that Clarence Thomas is mad because he just, like I said, in '93, he was pissed at them for bringing up the issue of his sexual harassment of Anita Hill. And so he vowed he was going to take it out on the Democrats forever, okay? All right, that's how pissed off he was when that happened. And he's still at it. He's still at it. So this guy's got a real attitude problem, okay? He's not a guy you'd want to sit and talk to for any length of time because he's very opinionated and he's always on the wrong side of history, all right? So this is a guy we don't need as a Supreme Court justice. And why he's been in there so long and we haven't done anything to challenge him, I don't know. Get down. That's my sound device here. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for today. And I want to say have a good weekend, everybody. Please keep your ears open to local COVID-19 news in your area, so that way you won't be in the outside the loop when things happen. So subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear from you, and please take care of yourself and treat others the way you want to be treated. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.